Okay, last pasuk in our parak. And not that the parak divisions really mean much, but chapter 22, pasuk chaf tes. Chazisa ish mahir b'malachto lifnei malachim yisyatzav, bal yisyatzev lifnei chashukim.
I have seen a man quick in his work.
Yeah, I've seen a man quick in his work.
Before kings, he's
like MSV Yatziv, yeah, stand. Before kings, he will maybe be firmly established. That's what I would say. Yeah. Bal Yisatzev lifnei chashukim.
He won't be firmly established before.
Well, what does it look like the shorish is? Choshech, right? Yeah, before dark ones, right? I mean, that's the literal.
Okay, there's something that's like bringing my mind. It's like chashukim. I've heard it before. Is like necromancers almost. Like
oh, really? Okay, interesting. All right. So I mean, obviously the term needs to be explained. So let's see what the minimalists say. Mitzias ציון says chazisa inyan re'ia. So it means to see, right? Like a choseh, okay. Now we know chashukim is shvalim upchusim. So Mitzias, what? Chazisa. Yeah. So chashukim is shvalim upchusim. That's lowly and degenerate people, and he says ki k'moshen nikraim sarim chorim miloshen shiur veloven. Okay, just like we call like officers racist undertones white, right? And ken yikru hapchusim chashukim miloshen choshech v'shacharus. Yeah.
Isn't the chazisa you?
Yeah, you're right. You have seen. Yeah, not I've seen. I don't know what I said. Oh, because I was talking what Isaac said. Yeah, here you go, Sean. What do you call it? If you want a insomnia muffin, you can have this, Sean. Insomnia muffins. Yeah.
Not the insomnia.
I know. All right. Yeah. Well, that's the idea. All right. So Sadi Gaon says, Insomnia Gaon says, Imra Isa Ish Mumche b'malachto. Oh, so that's interesting. Where's a mumche?
Someone who's very
expert, right? So he says, if you see a man who is an expert in his work, I guess because experts work fast, right? Like swift, like in terms of like there's gotta be an English word that combines the words swift with skillful. Alacrity, efficient is probably better. Yeah, efficient is probably good. Yeah. Alacrity doesn't have to do more with so a man who's expert in his work. Sorry, you know what? I didn't bold this. This is supposed to be bold. And then Kafach comments, Tigim Mahir Mila Ba'alas Salil Domeli Ivrit. Okay, fine. So he's just saying he translated it with a word that's similar to the Hebrew in sound. Horaso Mumche Ubaki. So it really means an expert. And then Chashukim, he says, Chashukim equals Shvale b'nei Adam Chadle Ishim Nechleshe HaChavra. That's interesting also. So it says lowly people. Okay, Chidlu Chadle Ishim. I think he means like outcasts. A chadal means to stop. He says nechleshe HaChavra, people who are weak in friendship. So it sounds like he's talking about like is there a better word for that? Outcast implies that they were outcasts, but this is like people who just like are on the
I know who you're talking about. I don't know the word.
Okay. Socially not awkward, socially excluded, maybe socially removed, fringe. I don't know how to say this, but whatever. Yeah. Okay. So also lowly degenerate, but he's giving a specific meaning to it. All right. Now the Tirgum I was looking up was in min. Indeed. Yes. Right. In hachinami, not in hachinami. In chazisa gabra damabhe ba'avidite. So I tried looking at mavhe and I couldn't find it in the Jastro. kadam malche nukum v'lo nukum kadam chashoche. Okay, so since we don't know what malche means, then we're gonna ignore it. Okay, our scroll says, "Have you seen a man with alacrity?" And our scroll says alacrity. All right, now we have to look up alacrity. Find alacrity. Brisk and cheerful readiness. Yeah, see, that also does not, that's not mumche.
Yeah.
It is a good word, but, and you could say it's a good translation of mahir, right?
Yeah.
Just not of Bucky.
Is Mumche going on the skill or the time?
Mumche, so he's, yeah, sounds like he's saying it's the skill.
Okay.
And that results in a shorter net time, but the emphasis is on the skill.
I would change efficient for proficient.
Say it again?
I would change efficient for proficient.
Meaning efficient is better than proficient.
No, proficient is that he has a mastery of.
Right, but you also want to capture the idea of you do want to capture the idea of quickness because it does say mahir.
Yeah.
But what, isn't the mahir going on his game master?
Right. No, those are like this. The Hebrew means fast, but there's two types of fast. There's fast, hasty, and there's fast, skillful.
Okay.
So Sadigon is putting emphasis on skill. So we want a word that captures skill and swiftness. And so efficient does seem to be the best one.
Yeah.
So let's say efficient. Who is quick or efficiently skilled? Efficiently skilled. Efficient. I'll just say efficient in his work. Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. He will not stand. Have you seen a man with alacrity in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before men of darkness. So men of darkness, that's kind of like how we have it. Yeah, dark ones. Living Nach says, do you see a man who is swift in his work? He will wait upon king. Wait upon kings? That's how he learns the Yisatzav. That's weird. I guess standing at attention, maybe, like to serve. Not upon lowly men. Alter says, have you seen a man who is quick at his task? Before kings he shall stand. He shall not stand before the lowly. And then Alter commentary says quick at his task. The Hebrew adjective mahir suggests, as in a number of other occurrences, adept or skilled. Adept is also a good one. Okay. And then the lowly, he says, a more literal reading of Hebrew chashukim would be the obscure, but the sense is not that they lack fame, but rather that unlike kings, they have no social standing. Okay, so that's kind of more like the Sadigan, right? People on the fringes of society. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it the way we have it here, and then go to the questions. Yeah, let's just move these around. Yeah. I was thinking, I feel like someone brought this up recently. I cannot believe that in 2020 to 2021, we did not have a screen. Like, how did we learn anything in any things I teach? Yeah, we got to thank Elisa Fader for that. Yeah.
Why does being fast or efficient in your work translate to standing?
Yeah. Okay, good. So let's actually break that down into the what questions first. What does mahir b'malachto mean?
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Could it mean hasty in a bad way?
Yeah. So I would have said that if not for the fact, if standing before kings is bad, then I think hasty is could reasonably be bad. But because standing before kings seems to be good, then I'm inclined to say that mahir means good. Now you could, if you want to switch, and if you want to say standing before kings would be bad, and chashukim, and standing before chashukim would be bad, right? So not standing before chashukim would be good. Then you could say that mahir. So you have to like reverse the connotations. Yeah. So let's say so what does, hold on just a second, Ariel. What does lifnei malachim Yisyat mean? Then we have Yoshua's question, which is, what is the correlation between mihirus bimalacha and yitzivus lifnei malachim? Yeah, Ariel?
Is it the same person in the first half and the second half of the pasuk?
Yes.
Okay, good. And what does it mean that you have seen him at? Meaning like an outsider saw that man?
Yeah. So what does he mean by chazisa? Chazisa. I am not mahir b'malachti today. What does he mean by chazisa? And also, why does he like introduce the idea in this manner? Yeah, Sean?
In terms of number 2,
Yeah.
What is or how is he being established?
Yeah. How? Yeah. Actually, isn't. I think that's going to be more of a question on number 3, right? How does this work?
Well,
Or how? Okay. How does this take place?
well, I would say there's a question of how is he established,
Right.
and then what about this thing
Okay.
established?
How is he established? Like, how exactly is he established? And then this is saying what is the cause and effect that allows him to establish
like there's
that way.
different
Yeah.
ways to establish yourself before a king.
Yeah.
Right. So which type of establishment before a king is this talking about?
Right.
And then how is the cause and effect of that establishment
Yeah.
happening?
The safer seems to be a little like tangential almost. It obviously it's similar to lifting the lachim itself, but
Yeah.
it's actually like a command or like advice. It's not.
So I
It's not
don't.
like cause and effect.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it has to be read that way. I know it can be read that way, right? Like Baal Tosif,
Oh, is
right?
it?
But I think it. I mean, none of the English guys we saw said that it's a tzivui,
Oh,
right?
interesting, right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna assume it doesn't mean that unless we see someone saying it.
Sure.
So who are the chashukim, and then like what does it mean to be Yisiat save lifnei? Is it lifnei? Yeah, lifnei chashukim, shukim. Like I'll say, is this like what makes this bad? And then I'll add an Isaac's question, or is this good? And then I'll put the corollary in the king thing. Like what makes this good, or is it bad? That, yeah. Yeah, Sean?
Is this specific to the king in terms of being established? Yeah, is the establishment
Yeah.
specific to the king, or does it apply to a certain?
Okay, good. So also, I think this is part of the question too. No, it's not. A different question. Is this specific to Malachim, or does this extend to other types of people as well? And Malachim is just an example, right? Yeah.
You scroll down a second. Do we need to also find who are the chashukim?
Yeah. What the chashukim, yeah.
Rabbi Shemos,
Yeah.
did we ask if the second half of the pasuk is bad?
Yeah. So Isaac asked that, and I said that because it seems that standing before kings is good. So either you have to say that standing before kings is good and lifnei chashukim is bad and mahir is good, or you have to say standing before kings is bad, mahir is bad, and then not standing before dark people is good. Yeah.
Can she read it? Standing before a king is good, being efficient is good, but the lack in the second half of the pasuk is that he's not being efficient with other people.
Well, in the first part, it's not with other people, it's his work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I mean,
I think that's a good point. Like,
meaning maybe all of them are good.
Like, a person might want to stand before kings and before Kid.
Right. So it's like a trade-off.
It might be a trade-off.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It might be a trade-off. I hear. Yeah. Ezra?
Part of question 1.
Yeah.
Does this apply by all malachos?
Yeah. Does this? Yeah. So what malacha is this talking about? What malacha is this talking about? Yeah, Sean?
Then I would ask, who's the audience? Is it the worker? Is it the king? Is it the dark ones? Is it something else?
Yeah. The worker, the ish, the malachim, the chashukim, or someone else. Yeah, Isaac.
For question 5.
Yeah.
Might this just be an LMNOP thing?
Oh yes, it might just be an LMNOP then. Yeah. Good to mention. So the whole. Let's review this. The whole section from 20. No. From
I think it's 17.
17. Hat oznecha ushma divrei chachamim. From there, for 30 pesukim, there is a correlation to this thing called the steel of what's the real thing? Amenemope, which is an Egyptian collection of proverbs, and there's like a lot of like very direct parallels in order with these pesukim and Mishlei. We talked about what the implications of that are from before, but we said that what this does methodologically is, let's say Shlomo HaMelech was, and that tablet seemingly is older than Mishlei, right? So we said that what it does methodologically is usually you can be medakdek or medayek in Shlomo's lashon, but if he was basically like taking this pre-existing set of proverbs and then infusing it with Torah values and then like reframing it, then possibly he preserves some certain stylistic things from those proverbs that like are not for his ideas, but are, yeah. So that's just, it shouldn't practically change what we do, but it should be in our awareness. Yeah, David?
Yeah, so for question 1, we're talking about being Mahir Milachto.
Yeah.
What aspect of Mahirut is leading to this? I mean, we did say that both like this guy is being, like he's doing the job well, and he's also doing it fast.
Yeah. What is the cause of the Mahirus?
No, what within the Mahirut causes being with Milachim?
Oh, yeah, that we talked about, that's question number 4. What is the correlation between Mehirut b'malacha and Yitzivus b'malachim? And by the way, just to explain why I changed Yeshua's question, he said what causes it, and I'm saying that it might be a cause, but it might be that Mehirut b'malacha and Yitzivus b'malachim stem from another factor. Like as I just said, correlation. Yeah, but we could ask also, what is the cause of the Mehirus? Yeah, Sean, did you have another question? No. Okay. Yeah, I think this feels pretty good. Okay, so yeah, Ariel?
Yeah, if we're finished with questions, can I reserve a spot for an idea?
You want to take it now?
Yeah, sure.
No, only for Monday night here. Yeah.
So
don't get into an accident.
Try. I was wondering if maybe you could say that going along the lines of how I was reading the pasuk, that what an individual may present himself in a very efficient or quick way with the king because he wants to, I guess, like be on his best behavior and and show that he's able or capable of doing the job because he values being around the king.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I could also see that same person not really caring about low lives or degenerates, just someone who's not important. He just won't treat them in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I kind of want to read the pesukim, because I think I see that in my life also. Like I would treat Rav Pesach completely differently than I would treat like a bum, like. Right.
Let me just ask you a question. Are you reading it? Is your whole interpretation coming from are you reading it as Mahir b'malachta lifnei malachim?
Yeah.
That's not how you read it.
Oh.
It's im chazisi ish mahir b'malachto lifnei malachim yisyatzav. Because and that's also why I included the trop on this one, because I want to make sure we read it right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah. I mean, I hear your idea. It just doesn't fit with the words. Yeah. I was gonna say something. Oh, just one thing before I forget. This is a random thought. I don't know if this is true. This could be totally messed up. I think Ben Franklin liked this pasuk. I just want to see. Hold on just a second. Benjamin Franklin, Proverbs 22:29. Yes. Hold on. Let's see. Proverbs. When Franklin was a boy, his father would often quote to him the following proverb from Solomon: "Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men." Writing his autobiography, Benjamin Franklin recalled that he took seriously his father's admonition. From his youth and onward, he considered skilled work to be a pathway to fortune and fame. Now, he did not really accept that he would literally stand before kings. And yet, as he later pointed out, that was exactly what happened. As he said in his autobiography, I've stood before 5 kings and even had the honor of sitting down with one, the king of Denmark, to dinner. That's great. Okay, that's good. Oh, where did that memory come from? Yeah.
This actually goes along with what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the name of is that the king is recognizing him, and that is what's firmly establishing him.
Mhm.
Like he's being recognized for his work,
Okay.
but the low degenerate people don't have the social standing.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because they're on the outskirts of soccer, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Establishment.
That's it. Okay, I like that reading. So that also opens up a new way to learn Yisiat Tzav, right?
Yeah.
That either. So you're saying he's Yisiat Tzav because kings have the power to do that.
Yeah.
And the other way of looking at it would just be that, like, I don't know how to say it. How were we reading it before? I feel like we were reading it differently before.
That he would like stand and wait for the king,
Or something like that. Yeah.
You were like this,
like ready to serve.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. I like that reading. Yeah. Sean.
I have a different approach, but if we want to.
Oh, yeah. Should we? Yeah. Let's explore that approach.
I have
Yeah.
a similar but slightly different take on it.
Okay.
That the king is in a position to recognize that he is skilled at it.
Mhm.
Like he's like uniquely in a position like that. Like
Because like the king has access to everyone,
Yeah.
and only the best for the king. And
yeah, exactly. So like he can see, oh wow, this person's actually really skilled. Whereas
Mhm.
someone who's on the outcast, might be like it seems like this guy is doing well at this, but he's not going to recognize. He's not going to recognize that he's like really,
Right.
skilled at this.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that does fit with Yeshua's approach. Okay. So. Okay. I feel like what we should do is I feel like we should kind of start with the idea of Mahir b'Malachto, and then that could fit into multiple approaches. And then we'll see where it goes from there. So you have an idea, Sean, do you have an idea for Mahir b'Malachto?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. And then you could go ahead and segment your approach. Like I think this
Sure.
puzzle lends itself to
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So are you familiar with the locksmith's paradox?
Can you say it?
Sounds familiar.
Okay, so locksmith's paradox is a person hires a locksmith to fix their door,
Yeah.
right? Now, which locksmith do they tend to pay more? The locksmith that takes forever to fix the door, right? The one who's not efficient in the work. Why? Because people see, oh, he struggled with this door a lot,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm going to pay him in proportion to the amount of work that I saw him doing,
Yeah.
right? Not according to skill level, because the locksmith who's able to fix your door in a second, right? That's the one who knows locks so well and completely
Yeah.
that he's able to just instantly see the problem and fix it.
Yeah.
Right. And so as human beings, I'm saying the lowly and the person who is Mahir b'Malachto, right, who is quick and efficient in his work. So that's viewed by different types of people differently. So
Yeah.
a person who is a lowly degenerate person, or like it's the dark ones, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to put some emphasis on that, right? Dark ones is like his work is obscure to these people. They don't understand what locksmithing is and
Yeah.
like any of these things, and they don't see like the amount of chachma that goes into like figuring out what's the problem here.
Yeah.
Right? And so they see like, oh, he's just like a natural at this, or he's just
Yeah.
good at this. Like it's not a like testament to his abilities, right? Or to the amount of work that he's done,
Yeah.
or how great of a person he is. Oh, he's just like, this is like if he could do it this quickly, then I could do it this quickly.
Yeah.
Because they don't see the amount of work that this person took into studying their craft. Because
Yeah.
they say, oh, if this is such a quick and easy fix,
Right.
then I should be able to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Versus the king appreciates and understands that because the king is constantly immersed with problems and sees the amount of depth to the king has to understand entire worlds.
Yeah.
Right? And he needs to see that there's behind each like small piece, there's an entire story.
Mhm.
Right? And so he understands that if this person is able to quickly see what the problem is here, it's because they have a massive amount of experience and knowledge in this field,
Mhm.
and he'll actually appreciate it,
Right.
and he'll reward it properly.
Yeah.
Whereas the person who doesn't, who just sees like, oh, this is a quick and easy fix, I should have been able to do this.
Yeah.
Won't recognize.
Okay. So I like the idea. The only thing that I feel is slightly forced, not sure, because I like the idea, but the slightly forced is I feel like it's really attributing too much to kings that would not necessarily be a quality I would associate with
Well,
kings.
so I think that fits well with what I was saying.
Yeah.
Is that the king is going to, in a unique perspective, to see these things, not necessarily that he is definitely going to have investigated all of it, but that he is in a position to like to gather this information.
But I think that is like, I don't think Sean can say that though, because I think Sean's idea is specifically of the king's ability to recognize the significance of the swiftness. Not just that he, like appreciating the chachma behind the fact that the speed comes from chachma and the speed doesn't come from haste. Yeah.
And also interesting is that he's not getting the most proficient people, he's getting the most efficient. So he might not be getting the best of the best, he's getting like the quickest, because kings tend to lack, I'm projecting, but tend to lack patience possibly.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm starting to be sold on your idea now, because why? Oh, so maybe you can say that just like chashukim is not literally people who are in the dark, but it's like the low social thing. Could be that malachim are, typically you're going to talk about a melech, right? Not malachim. Maybe malachim is being used figuratively here for people who are like on the upper echelons of like whatever the realm of malacha is that you're talking about here. I don't like that for a different reason, because it's taking malachim not literally. I just don't think that kings, especially if you're talking about in the ancient world, where like just because you're a king does not mean at all that you have any sort of appreciation of chachma. Like to the contrary, like you either won your way there by like overthrowing someone, or you got it hereditarily. So like, but I'm trying to work it out because I like the idea.
Unless being in front of kings is supposed to be a good thing, then they're seen like good people.
But that's a nice idea, but that's also not what Sean's saying. Because Sean's saying that that it's the king's ability to perceive the nature of the mehiras b'malacha, right? That puts him in this.
Yeah, I could switch it around and say another quality of the king.
Okay, sure.
That might
Yeah.
help with this, which is that the king doesn't need to be able to solve every problem in order to see himself as like a powerful person who, like, it doesn't, having people serve him and be able to solve his problems doesn't undermine his like manhood in a sense. Whereas a person who hires his locksmith and sees like, oh, this is a quick fix, right? And like that like makes them feel stupid about themselves, and so they need to say no. Like this person, like I could just do what this person, and so I shouldn't pay them money, because like I should have been able to do this. Like really, they're robbing me as a locksmith because it's such an easy.
Yeah, that I like that better. I just want to see if this is relevant. Does anyone know the Feynman anecdote that I'm thinking of?
I don't know what you're thinking of, but Richard Feynman.
The radio one.
Was the radio or was it the locksmith? Maybe when he did it, because the radio is, he thinks that he fixes it with his mind. Oh no, it was the radio, right? He did it. He pretended to do it in a longer. He took longer than he needed to. No, he also did it with the. He also did it with the locksmith.
He'd take like half an hour.
Right. Well, I'll find it later. Yeah. I'll try to bring it up for tomorrow. But I don't want to spend my time looking for it now. Okay, so let's just flesh out Sean's idea.
You actually were right on it.
What?
I think
was I?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. All right. Surely you're joking. If anyone hasn't read Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, you obviously have to read it. It's the best, like, light. If you want that sweet spot between like light reading that's entertaining, but also chachma, then it's good. And I bought a copy of it specifically. I have my copy in Seattle, but I bought a copy specifically here because like this generation of yeshiva guys is not as holding in it as like in other generations. Surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman. It's kind of a long anecdote though, right? Maybe I'll just put it in the thing.
Physics, or
nothing to do with physics. Stories about his life. And he wrote it. It's a self anecdote about his life, but okay, very, very good book. So what we're saying here is like this. Oh, so now that also answers the question number. I know I didn't summarize it. All right, I think it answers the question about chazisa ish mahir b'malachta. Chazisa ish, right? But the whole thing is about seeing a person, right? That there are two. So the facts are. So who's the audience? The audience is someone who. Yeah, who do you think the audience is? I know we're not summarizing it. Sorry, I gotta say the idea. So the what we have so far is that when a person is quick in his work because he's skillful. So this is going specifically off Sadion's, right? So then there are two ways to look at that. One is to marvel at the fact that this person was able to do this tremendously complex thing like that, right? Like you have to really know your way around, like the Chinese proverb of the butcher who carves the entire thing in one shot because like he like knows how to like avoid all the bones or some sort of weird thing like that, and so the king, so someone who is, I like your second idea, but it also doesn't satisfy me. Someone who is able, so I'm going to leave it out right now. So someone who is able to see that without any resistances will like establish this guy in some good position. Like I don't know what you see out to mean. So like he'll appoint him, he'll reward him, something like that, something good. But then chashukim, people who are like dullards, people who are not able to appreciate that chachma, will see this guy and think that he's naturally talented or like use some trick or like,
or like I could
do this. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, so why should I bother with this guy? And they're not going to value him enough to establish him. Right. And then the question is, you, dear reader, have you seen such a man? Right. Okay. Meaning like, are you looking at this guy in the right way? I'll give you another example just because it's on my mind. Like in one of the he's the third greatest Magic player. He says he's the third greatest Magic player. Some say he's the best. Some say he's the second best. LSV is one of the fastest players ever, like extremely fast. And people can get misled by that and think that he's being hasty in his decisions. And especially newer players will think that he's just going based off of like whims and stuff. But you got to realize, like, an expert, I'm sure, is in chess is the same thing, but like it takes lots and lots and lots of training slow in order to be able to do this fast. Yeah.
So there's actually a Malcolm Gladwell podcast about this. He's talking about the LSATs.
Okay. Yeah.
How LSATs and like standardized testing in general.
Yeah.
Favor quick people.
Yeah. Right.
Not methodical. And smart people.
Yeah.
So and this leads like down the line.
Scholastic alacrity tests.
Yeah.
If you catch my drift. Yeah. Yeah.
Some people can't be lawyers. Or lawyers for like or judges like on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Whatever. All these people went to like Princeton, Harvard, whatever.
Yeah.
None of them went to like these places because they didn't place well from the LSATs, which actually has absolutely no correlation between like who's a good lawyer, who's a good judge, whatever. He happened to use chess as also an example of how like nowadays people are like turning speech tests into more of a thing than like classical 3-hour games. Yeah. So
another fault of the school system. All right. So now I think what we need to do to bring this idea home. I'm still open to a more satisfying explanation of Lifnei Malachim. I like your second one better though. That that the king is not threatened by such a person. But what I want to answer also is who is the audience and like what's the practical what is the practical idea? David.
Just to clarify when we're talking about Malachim, are you being specific to kings or are you calling Malachim?
Yeah, you're not being specific to kings, right?
People who are.
So either people who are capable of recognizing the chachma, or people who are not threatened.
I think people who recognize the chachma aren't threatened by it because.
I thought you were saying he wasn't threatened. I mean, that is true.
King, meaning, I think king is a example of a person who would not be threatened by this, but I think someone who also understands that there's an immense amount of chachma by it isn't threatened because they recognize like, oh, this person like. Put in this much work and I appreciate that. Right.
And then there's my interpretation, which I don't like, it's deviating from the literal pshat, that kings is people who are like the kings of the field, like of the efficient in the field. Yeah. Field in a Kabbalistic way. Yeah. Chas v'shalom.
I'm thinking that the audience is an onlooker.
Yeah.
And I think that actually
you have good evidence to support you. Chazisa,
yeah. Yeah. And I think that the fact that Chazisa is in past tense supports that because it's saying you've seen this.
Yeah.
Like which group were you in?
Yeah.
Were you in the group that like recognized him for his skill, or were you in the group that did like?
So then the question though is then what's the practical idea though? What's the practical application?
Well, I think the practical idea is that when you see someone doing something like very swiftly, to like think about whether this to maybe resist the immediate feeling. The immediate impulse of feeling. Oh, but he wasn't like he wasn't skilled. Like I could have done that, or whatever that that mistake is.
Mhm.
And the thing about maybe it's actually he's extremely skilled.
Mhm.
Can I add a slightly different
Yeah.
takeaway? You could say that by him saying that you've seen this, right? He's showing like this isn't just like an idea that's out there. Like you can tell this is a real thing, and it's showing that you can view people in two different ways. I think that then you can get to like that way, but like so I think specifically showing him that like it's something that you've seen, like kind of like brings like examples to mind, and that like it's like a realer idea. But then also wanted to tweak that a little bit and say that then you, the audience, can become one of these people. Like you can become somebody who either,
But this is a fork, though. This is a fork, which is that is it saying you've seen someone like this? Which category are you in? And you are in a position to be a potential malachim guy or potential chashukim guy, or is the implication something else?
I have another problem.
Ezra and then Sean and then Isaac. Yeah.
That the audience is someone who's a bystander, but someone who's trying to hone their craft. And how should they?
I was thinking that also. Yeah, because you could see a guy who's quick and then you immediately want to like jump to being the quick person.
Right.
But now the question is, how does that correlate to the idea? Meaning, is it because if you think that you could do it quickly, then that means that you're underestimating how much chachma is involved in this.
Right.
Right.
So that part I haven't.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. Sean and then Isaac in the background.
So I would say in that regard, a person who thinks that this is an easy thing to do, is then either going to dismiss like this as a thing that's worthwhile to invest in. Right. So you see like a chacham in, let's say, Torah, right? And you say like, oh, like I could quickly get to that. So like I can delay in pursuing this and actually investing the energy here. Or in the other side, that this is such an easy thing to do. I'm just going to jump into it and I'm going to throw caution to the wind and I'm just going to pick it up. And then that initial assumption results in the frustration when you realize that you're not able to develop it quickly, which is very discouraging for those people. And then they completely drop something that they could have been successful. Yeah, see,
this track I am very attracted to because this is a very Mishlei thing to talk about, right. So far, I like that approach the best, both of your approaches.
I have another possible practical implication. And saying, maybe you've been overlooking people, who have like skill in areas that you could be utilizing, and you're like, because they just did it swiftly, you didn't even think about it. You're like, you call a locksmith and they do it in like 5 seconds. And then you just move on. And saying, you might be overlooking people who actually have a lot of skill that you could,
Yeah. So this is raising another problem, which I don't know why this didn't bother me before, is that even though I think that people do have a certain resentment towards people who do stuff quickly. I mean, when it comes, maybe it's just a problem with your idea. Maybe it's not a problem with everything, but if you're hiring someone to do a task, you do want them to do it quickly. Right, like even though there is that the paradox that you're saying,
I'm saying it's not necessarily that you are resistant to them. It's that because they're doing it quickly, nothing about it like catches your attention. It's you hire someone to do it, they come, they do it, and then you just move on to the next thing. But and so you don't think about the fact that they actually did this really quickly.
But don't you though? Because it got done quickly.
Right? So the person, like the locksmith example, right? So he fixes your door quickly, and you're like, "Oh, you didn't do like any work here, so I'm not going to pay you like a lot of money. I'm just going to pay you like a very small amount of money." Is that locksmith going to want to come back and work for you? Like you are ruining your relationships with people who are skillful because you're not appreciating their work.
I see.
And so in terms of establishment, so that relationship, you've dismissed that relationship. And so now that person's not going to come back to you, and that relationship isn't established. Whereas the person gets done, the king says like, I want this to be done. And this person gets that thing done immediately. The king's going to be like, next time I want something done, I'm going to give it.
Okay. So now I have a different problem with it, which is that it's, the pasuk feels like it's talking much more to the guy, not the employer. Right.
Yeah, so I want to on that line as I was going with as a guy who's like honing his craft.
Mhm.
So I think it's like it's very easy, especially when you're starting off, to be discouraged by so okay. So I don't know if it's when you're starting off or not, but it's easy to be discouraged by people who don't know what you're doing
Mhm.
versus like and attaching to that side and being like this it's hard to get examples, but right, if you make it look easy, or like even if you don't, right? Well, I guess he has to be quick, right?
You want me to come back?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think just the main
Yeah.
point is just that it's easy to get bogged down with the people who don't know what you're doing and like attached to that, and then and then get discouraged versus like attaching to and maybe I forgot.
Yeah, I'll go back to it. Yeah, Sean, what are you thinking about for tomorrow?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why do you think that it's talking more to the man who's efficient in work when it's saying you've seen? Like, it seems like the person that this pasuk is talking to is not to the king.
Yeah,
not to
that's
the-
good.
not-
That's
not
a
to
good
the,
indication.
and not to the Egypt,
Yeah.
talking to.
That's a good
a
indication.
person
Yeah, I hear
who's-
that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you could cut both ways, but that is better support for that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna try to explain Chaim's idea.
Okay.
That a person who, when a person is a Mahir B'Malachto, most of the, like, it might be that most of the people that he's interacting with are chashukim who aren't appreciating that he's actually skilled at his craft.
Mhm.
But saying, like, the upper echelons of people will recognize and establish it, because they can, actually appreciate your worth, whatever way that happens.
Mhm.
But is that
They were saying something different.
Okay.
I had it. And then
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah. We got a lot of possibilities forming around here. I mean, I still like the general approach.
Yeah.
Was there anyone who had a completely different approach to the pasuk that we should get on the table? Did you have one earlier or not?
I don't know, but I like
Okay.
that approach.
Yeah. I thought of an amusing example, but it's not really an example because Mozart was an actual like genius. Like he didn't do it through like working. And I just saw a thing. I haven't verified whether this is true, but I wouldn't put it past him. It says, if you ever feel bad about procrastinating in your work, just remember that Mozart wrote the overture to Don Giovanni on the morning of its premiere. But he could do that. He could just like, if you ever looked at maybe it is a good example because I feel like I've shown this in Mishlei before. Hold on. Draft. If you look at the drafts of their compositions, best is have a side-by-side one. But basically, yeah, well, this is a good example. This is like a Beethoven, I think, draft. Beethoven actually like works on his music and like wrote and revised. Mozart's drafts had no mistakes. He just churned out music perfectly, and that's why like everyone was envious of him. But that's not. It's a counterexample. But the example though, Mozart's a counterexample. Beethoven is a good example because he had to work to get to the point where he was a Beethoven, so for the honing your craft approach, then that does work out. And Beethoven can see, he just can't hear. Okay. So let's, can we think about it and let it percolate for tomorrow? I do like, it's a very promising approach.
Yeah.
It's funny because just from a methodological standpoint, sometimes there's a nagging doubt I have about the idea, and the nature of the nag indicates that there's a problem with the main idea. And that's why it doesn't fit into the like lashon. And then sometimes it's just like, I feel like there is like just this right like way of like orienting and then it'll like click into place. Like the idea feels good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's from the lashon. I don't know if it's from like who the audience is. I feel like, I'm not sure exactly where to go, but let's
I
think
have
about
an
it.
example.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like sometimes people will be asking Mishlei questions and it's like there's like coming up with questions really quickly. And like it can seem like it's just like they're just asking like formulaic questions.
Yeah, right.
But actually it's because it's like these are the things that you don't know about the pasuk, and because there's done a lot of like Mishlei, it's clear that this was
I'll just leverage that into another example is that I'm very makbid on listing all the questions because I think you have to do that when you're learning Mishlei in order to train yourself. When Ken and I learn Mishlei, we don't list any questions. We immediately just interpret the pasuk because we have telepathy, so we know that each other knows the questions. But then the other telepathy, but the other is that we already know what all the questions are. We'll only say a question if it's like a new kind of question. So if you witness that, it would look like the bad habit that like I always have to like get out, like stamp out of people by But yeah. Okay, let's stop here for today. Good, fun pasuk though. Yeah. If anyone wants